We're out sort of bringing the message out to the people of Barnsley again about the dangers that we're facing, in the NHS with privatisation, outsourcing, closure of the A&E, closure of hospitals, and so on. The news that we got from Huddersfield has been particularly alarming. That the entire hospital is going to be closed and demolished. 480 jobs are to go. The A&E is going to go, so people from Huddersfield will are expected, according to the documents, to travel to Halifax for accident and emergency. Where that leaves people who are on the other side of Huddersfield, who are closer, say, to Wakefield or Barnsley, there's no mention of, the facilities that are available currently at Barnsley and Dewsbury and so on. So the clear implication is that Barnsley and Dewsbury are also going to close. We can't get a straight answer. We're told that the A&E is going to stay open, but we know that because the Barnsley Hospital was opened at roughly the same time as the Huddersfield unit was as well, that its A&E was only designed for 80 patients a day. Currently there are a minimum of 250 patients going through a day. If Huddersfield Royal Infirmary, when Huddersfield Royal Infirmary closes, unless we can stop it, you're going to get tens of thousands of people on this side of Huddersfield whose only access to an A&E will be Barnsley, which is, as it's overcapacitated now, then it's going to become even worse. There was a situation a few months ago where on a Sunday they had one doctor for the entire A&E in Barnsley, and the nurses were reduced to going round the A&E asking patients to go home and come back the following day. So, it's a very serious situation. At the moment, every time you go up to Barnsley A&E, there's inevitably 2, 3, 4 ambulances parked outside because there isn't the capacity inside to discharge patients. So if you look at the STP document that came out last week, the Sustainability and Transformation Plan, everything's going to be wonderful, everything in the garden's going to be rosy. And sadly, there is no detail of the £571 million of cuts that they've got to make over the next few years. Barnsley alone has got to lose £90 million, or find £90 million of savings, as they call it, but we know the cuts. The Naylor report, which recommended that what they call surplus NHS land and buildings be sold to the private sector. But if you look at the Naylor report, there's a little clause in there which says basically to the developers, buy one get one free. There's something like a 10 billion fund in order to kickstart selling off land to private developers. And this is one of the other aspects of what's happening in the NHS, is not just the sell-off of land, but the outsourcing of various functions that are currently in-house in the NHS to private developers. I think in Barnsley there's an excellent scheme whereby the elderly and those who've got severe illnesses which mean they're confined to their homes in a lot of ways, such as diabetes and so on, whereby the medical staff can keep in touch with their patients by phone, landlines, mobiles, and all the rest of it, and it's a scheme that works. The patients are happy with it. The nurses can keep an eye on the patients and make sure they're taking the medication. That they're doing the right things during the day. So what are they going to do? They're going to close it, and they're going to outsource it to a company which has already failed and had its contract withdrawn in another area of the country. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But that's the future under Jeremy Hunt's NHS. Outsource as much as possible to the private sector, keep a very, very basic core under NHS provision, but make it centralised. So it's so difficult to get to.